Hello gamers and welcome back. I'm Rob, of course, or Warshack if you want to call me by my in-game name. And above me, we have Tony joining us back from Orlando.
Hey, how you guys doing?
We're currently in New York, of course. He's in Orlando, so he's joining us over Skype. So I'm sorry if the quality of his audio isn't the greatest. Skype, is Skype. And, he's using...
Compresses like a motherfucker.
And then the Skype video may lag, but we'll do our best to piece it together for you guys. But today, there was an awesome announcement and kind of card release of the Mean Streets of Gadgetzan, which is Hearthstone's newest coming expansion. They released 31 of the cards out of, I believe, what were there, 132 in total?
Yeah, 132. Launches in early December.
So 132 in total. We're going to cover the 31 that they went over today. Keep in mind that we're just basically going to show the card. We're going to talk about it, our thoughts behind it. We're going to go through each class. Then we're going to hit to the neutrals. The classes are broken up from rarity. So it starts with the commons, ends in the legendaries. And also keep in mind, look at when this was published, because as new cards are released, obviously in this video, we can't cover them because they're not actually released yet. We had a problem with that when we were talking about the old gods, because they'd be like, oh, why didn't you talk about this card? It's like, well, it wasn't out at that time.
Yeah.
So the first card we're going to talk about, we're going to go over Druid first. There's also a lot of cool new mechanics, guys, so we'll try to explain them the best we can, but keep in mind we have limited information as we haven't played with these cards yet, so there may be interactions and things that we may not know. We're only going by what the card text says. Alright, so the first card is going to be the 1-drop Mark of the Lotus. Give your minions +1/+1. So very, very similar to kind of Power of the Wild, but there's no there's no choose one option, right? So with you have Fandral, you've got the synergies with choose one. One situation, giving your minions +1/+1 is good. The other situation, let's say you don't have a 2-drop, summoning a 3/2 Panther is good. But this one is strictly, cost 1 mana less, and it gives your minions +1/+1. So definitely fits into the token Druid-esque area.
Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. It's a simple card.
Yeah.
Whether you'd run it over Power of the Wild is obviously in question. The choice is nice, and the synergy with Fandral is, of course, good. But I think it's an okay card. I don't think it's great, but it's fun, I guess.
Yeah. I feel like... for like a budget token Druid, right? For those who can't afford Fandral, for those who can't afford like the late game Druid cards, you can just throw in a bunch of small creatures, Living Roots, put in Mark of the Lotus, synergize as well with Violet Teacher and things of that nature.
Yeah, definitely.
Moving to the next one, which I lied, it's not going to be Pilfered. We're going to actually change the route here. It's going to be the Lotus Agent. And I think Tony can explain how this battle cry is going to work with these neutrals. And I know it's a neutral, but it's very specific to Druid, Rogue, and Shaman. We threw it in Druid just because that's one of the classes it fits with. But Tony, if you want to go into that battle cry.
Well, so these can only actually be played in the decks that they mentioned, Druid, Rogue, and Shaman. They're called multi-class cards. The Blizzard introduced them, and from what I understand, you can only play them in those decks, in Druid, Rogue, or Shaman, and then there's some later for the Mage, whatever. But essentially, it allows you. What I like about it is that when you discover a Druid, Rogue, or Shaman, you're getting access to cards you don't normally have, right? Yeah. So let's say you're a Druid, your burn outside of swipe or like Living Roots is pretty limited, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So maybe you're looking for, shamans, most of their spells are usually targeting, you have Lightning Bolt, you have Lava Shock, you have Lava Burst, things like that. It allows you access to certain tech that you didn't have before.
Yeah.
So, and I relate it to Magic in that it kind of, if you guys play Magic, it's kind of like having access to other colors, because certain colors in Magic have strengths over others. So I kind of relate it to that, and I think it's really good because it gives you resources you don't normally have in a deck, which could open up certain archetypes and tech.
Yeah.
So I love this mechanic.
Yeah,
I think it's needed.
Yeah, the Discover mechanic is also nice because it's not generate a random. There's nothing random. It is random, the cards you discover, but there's options within the randomness, right? So you have to select, based on the situation you're currently in, the best card for that particular time, so it can change. But when you just generate a random card, there's no skill in what card it gives you. I suppose there's skill in how you use that card thereon, but with Discover, the mechanic is pretty nice, and they've included a lot of it in this upcoming set. Also, keep in mind, for those of you who are wanting to Discover, when it says Druid, Rogue, and Shaman, you get one of each. So it'll be 3 cards in total, 1 Druid, 1 Rogue, 1 Shaman, and again, you can only play them for what we know, this particular card.
Oh, it says Druid, Rogue, or Shaman. You only get to pick one.
Yes, you don't get all 3. This is not fucking...
Oh, okay, you were saying that, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you said and. I was like, whoa.
when it pops up the Discover, it's one of each class as an option.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, my bad.
Good.
So heading into Pilfered Power, it's the 3-drop, gain an empty mana crystal for each friendly minion. It reminds me of, the Ancestral Communion a lot, but instead... Astral Communion, but instead of being 4 mana, it costs 3, but it requires creatures. And with the Communion, you don't have to pay for creatures, you just get the mana. So this has a requirement, but you don't discard your hand. So there's like pros and cons of both cards.
Yeah, it could be fun in ramp, but it also is, I don't know.
The
it's
Communion
weird.
wasn't good, and I don't see this being a much better version other than costing 1 less mana. And you don't have to discard your hand, but your whole deck was based around high drop creatures anyway, so like discarding your hand was really never a big deal because you just literally draw into like huge creatures. So
True.
I don't see this card being very good, and it kind of sucks. It's an epic. So when someone opens up a pack and they're like, an epic, and then they pull out this like, oh shit.
Well, at least you can dust it, right?
Yeah, it'd be kind of, yeah, but it still feels bad.
Yeah.
Next card, Lunar Visions, 5-drop. Draw 2 cards. Minions drawn cost 2 less. So it's basically fits your same mana slot as the Nourish. Does not have the choose one, so it doesn't synergize well with Fandral. It also has the requirement for it to be good that you have to draw creatures, right? Your minions drawn cost 2 or less. So you're basically adding an innervate to creatures that you draw, but if you draw spells, it's worthless. And you're only drawing 2 creatures, unlike Nourish that draws 3. So there's pros and cons, right? If you get minions, it's worth it. If you don't get minions, it's not worth it. If you have Fandral out, it's not as good as Nourish.
Right.
It's also an epic, so it's more expensive to craft. I'm pretty sure Nourish, it might be an epic too. I don't know.
Nourish? I don't think so. I think, let me look that up real quick. Regardless.
For some reason, I think it's a rare, but I might be wrong.
Nourish. Hearthstone.
It actually might be an epic.
It's a rare.
Oh, it's a rare. All right. So I would just, for those newer players, I would just go with the Nourish on this one, guys. I really don't see a really big pro to this unless it's going to fit into a very specific minion-heavy Druid deck.
Yeah.
But I don't see it.
Oh, agreed.
And then the last one, the Druid Legendary. If Tony, you want to go over this one?
Yeah, he's it's Kun, the Forgotten King. He's a 10 mana 7/7 Druid Legendary.
7/7.
7/7. He has a choose one effect, so he has synergies with Fandral, and the choose ones are gain 10 armor or refresh your mana crystals. Essentially, if you pick the latter, the last one, he costs 0, right? Because you just gain all 10 mana you spent back, which leaves you room to be able to play other things as well. But Rob brought up a good point about this when we were discussing some of the cards earlier. So you can go ahead and go over that.
Yeah. So this card, So this card, 10 mana. You can basically only play him on 10, right? Unless you Wild Growth, Innervate, yada yada yada. He's a 10 mana card. But if you look at cards like Arcane Giant, right? It's for every spell you cost, he costs 1 less. So people are like, oh, this guy is basically a 0-drop 7/7. He's amazing. But the thing is, he requires you to have 10 mana, while Arcane Giant can be played on other turns. So for example, it's turn 7 or 6 or 7, and you have no plays to make, but you have an Arcane Giant that's been reduced by 6. You can still fit the Arcane Giant into your mana slot for that particular turn. He's not bound to 0 mana. He's not bound to 12 mana. Not that we have 12 mana, but he's not bound to any particular mana. So you can fit him in your curve as you see fit. Obviously, 0 being the most optimal. But he can fit in different slots. Same thing for Thing from Below. You'll find a lot of shamans will double hero power at the beginning of the game, and they'll throw a Thing from Below out on turn 4. Again, most of the time sometimes they have that 0-drop Thing from Below. This guy, again, bound to that 10 mana slot. You can't play him whenever you want, and this is where I think they've kind of limited this guy's how really good he is. People are, he looks really good at first, but then when you go down to a game and, you're chilling on a 7/7 for 10 mana in your hand, you're just like, well, there's no other slot he fits. Like, he can't, unless you innervate him out. And then the gain 10 armor. Yeah, it's cool if you're playing against aggro, I suppose, because Druid, I don't know. They really don't even need any healing if you think about it. They have Feral Rages, 3 mana, gain 8 armor, and they also have healing wave or healing touch or some shit like that. 3 mana, heal for 8, and then they also have there's one more, Moonglade Portal. So it's like the gain 10 armor really doesn't seem that great either. Right. So it's just like, why wouldn't you just play an Arcane Giant over this guy?
Yeah, but honestly, like, if Arcane Giant didn't exist, this card would be a lot better, right?
Yeah. If that card wasn't here, this guy would be very good. I wouldn't say the best, but I would definitely say he's worth playing.
Like, we would see this and be like, oh my god, that's insane. A 0 mana, on turn 10, I can play now 2 10-drops.
And synergize as well with Fandral, but we both know that's not going to happen very often.
Oh no. It'll be a Oh no. It'll be a once in a blue moon for that. But I mean, if Arcane Giant didn't exist, this card would be awesome. It would be very cool. But now it just seems lackluster because there's an epic that's better in stats, and it's better in as you said, playability and versatility.
And you can run 2 of them.
It's a neutral.
And it's a neutral. All right, So that basically wraps up our Druid Legendary. So heading over to the Hunter class, we've got the 2-drop 1/1 Grim Street Informant. There's also should be a cut here, and we should no longer be lagging. Sorry about that, guys. We're going to do our best. This is going to be Battlecry. Discover a Hunter, Paladin, or Warrior card. It's going to be using the same ability as when we were talking about that Druid card, the 5-drop, 5/3. What was that?
Lotus Agents.
Lotus Agent. Thank you, Tony. It's going to have the same ability, so it can be played Hunter, Paladin, or Warrior. It's going to discover one of each. You pick that. I'm not sure why you would run this card over like a Novice Engineer, because Discover is basically a draw, but it's slightly worse because it's not a card you actually put into your deck. So why wouldn't you just want to play a card that would draw you a card that you know is good that's already in your deck versus, getting a card from a Battlecry from a Discover?
Right, and because it's 2 mana 1/1, it's kind of earlier, right? So usually you're going to use it a bit more aggressively. The 5/3 is a pretty aggressive card. It represents 5 attack. It makes sense that it's in a later game where you might need that tech right then,
Yeah.
But as a 2-drop, I mean, I guess you could run it later if you're really. But it's Hunter, Paladin, or Warrior, so like only 2 of those classes could ever really be control, like truly. And even then,
Hunter
Paladin
doesn't want to tech cards. They play their face cards, and they play, the Hunter has good cards. Why? They don't need any other cards. Like Priest, of course they want to steal them because they suck.
Yeah, so I don't think this one's as strong as Lotus Agent, because Lotus Agent has access to Rogue, Druid, and Shaman, which have all really good cards that, might want each other. So
definitely.
But this next one, I think, in concept and ability is really cool. It's called the Piranha Launcher. It just sounds badass. It's a 5 mana.
It looks badass.
Yeah, dude, it's a 5 mana 2/4 weapon for Hunter.
Oh,
and so whenever your hero attacks, you summon a 1/1 Piranha. So it's kind of tempo, right? Like you're possibly clearing board while establishing board at the same time. I think it's actually.
I'm assuming the Piranha's a beast, right?
I would think so.
Are fish beasts? I mean, a Piranha is pretty beast-like, right?
Let me click on the.
I'm playing with you. I know it's a beast.
It is? Okay. Okay, that's good.
It is.
That Ram Wrangler synergy, am I right?
Oh my god, but you're paying 5 mana to basically do 2 damage.
Yeah, I mean.
And it has 4 durabilities.
Like a 3/3.
So, I mean, so let's say you get full value. This card is worth it, because you pay 5 mana, you get 8 damage, and you've summoned a 4/4. And that 4/4 is a beast. But the Hunter games, by turn 5, that's more than halfway through the games for most of the time for Hunter. So yeah. I don't see. They're trying to push that mid-rangey late game Hunter.
That control Hunter deck,
but it's just not going to happen. We've been over this a million times. The hero power that Hunter has prevents it from being a control deck. It prevents it. It totally. There's no other way.
Yeah. True. Oh well.
All right, so moving on to the next one, we have Mage, and I believe it's the only Mage card we have currently. It's going to be the Soulcaster 3-drop, 3/4, so the stats are there. Battle Cry, choose a friendly minion, shuffle a copy back in your deck.
No. You're missing technically 2 cards, but go on.
Oh, yeah, right. So, we'll talk about this card and then the 2 cards that I'm missing, but I'm not technically missing them. They're neutrals, but we'll get into it in a second.
Yeah.
So this card, off the bat, reminds me of the Rogue card, the Shadowcaster, that puts a 1/1 version of the same card in your hand for 1 mana. But instead of doing that, it's just going to reshuffle a copy of it in your deck. So it's going to work well with card like Control Mage. It's going to work well with Reno Mage. You drop Reno, you drop Soulcaster, you put another Reno back in your deck. The problem is how good is Reno Mage? How good is Control Mage? Like currently. They're not very good.
It's gonna depend on whatever comes out in this set, maybe. You never know.
Like I'm sure. They're good decks, but in comparison to like mid-range Shaman, like nothing compares. It's just everything's just bad compared to that deck. Not bad, but it's you guys know.
Yeah, I agree.
When every single player in the BlizzCon World Championships brings one specific deck, every player had it. That should tell you something. There's not a single player that did not have mid-range Shaman. So definitely, obviously, it's a control Mage card. It's basically a entomb for your own card.
Yeah, and it's well statted too. It's a spider tank, right? It's a 3-drop, 3/4.
Yeah.
It has good stats and it has a good ability. I think it's a solid card. I think it'll see play in fun decks, and I think it might even see serious play depending on what it can copy. So.
Yeah. It's not a bad card. It's just how good is it really going to be in the decks that it's going to fit in.
Yeah, definitely.
So what he was talking about before is the cards that I'm missing out. Remember how there's that neutral card that we discussed earlier, 2 of them, and then they discover 3 of the class cards. They fit in those 3 classes, one of which is a Mage, but we're not going to cover the same card 3 times because it does the same thing. So there's really no point to go over it like that. But keep in mind, it can go into the Mage class. We just put it under another class because we didn't want to put it in every single one.
Oh, so you already have it placed somewhere else?
Yes, the card is in here. Just
haven't got to it yet. Same with the neutral legendary of the same kind of thing?
What was that?
Same with Kazakus?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's go on.
Yeah. All right, so we've got the Paladin 1-mana new secret, the Getaway Kodo. Secret: when a friendly minion dies, return it to your hand. It's a duplicate.
I think paired with the right card, this could be really good because let's say you drop like a Ragnaros Lightlord, and then you drop this right behind it.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be forced to kill that thing, right? Like it's an 8/8. So all of a sudden, and then they're like, oh, it didn't die. It goes back to my hand. Like, I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's actually going to be a card that maybe a one of in a certain Paladin decks because they can just drop like a Tyrion for it's like say turn 9 they drop Tyrion and then they drop Getaway Kodo. But then keep in mind if like let's say you put it in Secret Paladin, they bring it in Wild, they play the Mysterious Challenger, brings out all your secrets, Kodo gets hit, they attack, Noble Sack procs, the 2/1 comes out, the 2/1 dies, the 2/1 goes to your hand. So it's not actually good in Secret Paladin. It's only good.
Oh yeah, not at all.
Yeah, it would be a card that you'd play a really like a very strong minion that your opponent's gonna want to get rid of, and you drop this secret.
It's a mid-range or control card.
It's basically a duplicate that mages used to have, but it costs 1 mana instead of 3, and it brings 1 copy instead of 2.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Small time recruits is our next one, Tony.
What is it?
Small time recruits.
Wait, you forgot. Wait. Did you have this in front of Mean Street, Marshall?
Yes.
Okay. Small time recruits. It is a 3-mana spell. And you draw 3 1-cost minions from your deck. So it like super thins out your deck, right? If you're playing like super aggro bubble pally, or and the card we'll talk about next would be something good for that as well. It thins out your deck and draws you 3 cards. A 3-mana draw 3 cards. It's pretty good, right? And also it gets 1-drops in your hand, so you can pretty much play them right away later in the game. It's kind of just a way for you to survive later in the game when you're running out of card draw. Like you have no more divine favors or whatever. You might be able to pull that last
divine favors. Well, at that point you quit. If you play all your divine favors and you can refill your hand twice, and you still need the small time recruits.
True. I mean that's a different point. But I like small time recruits. I think it's a good card for aggressive decks. It's a cheap draw. Not as cheap as divine favor, but. whatever.
Yeah. I think there'll be a place for it, whether or not it's really good or not, but I think there might be a place for it.
Agreed.
I completely lied. I don't have the other Paladin. Actually, hold on. Production problem.
Mean Street Marshal.
Mean Street for some
If anything,
reason.
just superimpose it on the video.
All right, I'm gonna superimpose that shit.
Rob, remember to superimpose.
Mean Street Marshal, got it. Production value 100% still. It's a 1-drop, 1/2, Death Rattle. If this minion has 2 or more attack, draw a card.
I like it.
I think it's really good.
I think it's good because think about synergies like Abusive Sergeant, it being able to trade and draw a card.
What is it? Divine Strength, Blessings of King. Paladin is
any buff.
Yeah, Paladin is very, very well known for having cards that buff their creatures and make them more powerful than what they normally are, especially in the aggro Paladin. So, yeah, I like it a lot. If this card was a 2/1 and it had Death Rattle, if this minion had +3 attack, draw a card, that would be even more insane because of the Darkshire Councilman.
Too good, though.
Not the Darkshire Councilman. Steward of Darkness. Darkshire.
Yeah. Oh my God, that might be too good though. That'd be really good. I like him. He reminds me of a card in Magic. It's a 1 mana 1/2, and it gives you basically a spell that stays on the field until you pay 2 mana, and you can draw a card and sacrifice it. So it kind of reminds me of that. It's an aggressive way to draw cards.
I like it. And then moving to our last Paladin card, the legendary. Tony, you want it?
Wicker Flame Burn Bristle. I actually haven't even looked at this card.
This guy has a fucking cannon in his chest. He's going places.
Dude,
he is going places.
Wicker Flame Burn Bristle. Divine Shield and Taunt. Wow, we have never seen that in Paladin before. Damage dealt by this minion also heals your hero. Wow, so he's a pretty decent wall, and then he can be aggressive and heal at the same time. That's kind of cool. I like it.
Obviously, he's not like the best turn 3 play.
Oh, yeah.
But if you can drop him on like 7, right? So you play this guy and then like kings him. Obviously, he needs to be buffed.
Oh, yeah.
Because damage dealt by this minion.
Yeah. So, I mean, with Divine Shield and Taunt as well, it's going to force things to swing into it. So, you drop it on a field full of, like an aggressive field that you're against, and they have to trade into it, and all of a sudden you're just pinging up a bunch of health,
Well, damage dealt, so he doesn't actually have to attack.
I'm assuming because it deals
let's say a
back?
creature attacks into him, he deals 2 damage to that minion as like a response.
Well, yeah, so it's worded in a similar way that like my Ixnell was, right? When it deals damage, it kills that creature. So if another creature swings into it technically still deals that damage back and kills that creature. So it would work the same way.
Okay, cool.
I mean, then again, Blizzard's not always the best with card text that makes sense.
Paladins and healing, man. They're. I mean, obviously we know Priest should do a lot of healing, but Paladins has almost the same healing as Priest, or maybe even more. Like they Rag the Light Lord. I feel like that should have been a Priest card, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, the Divine Shield and Taunt is like like Tyrion and like. Oh wait, no. Anoyatron was a neutral. Never mind. Regardless.
Yeah. Definitely. Anoyatron, very, very similar to that as well. All right, heading into Priest, we have the pint-sized potion. It is going to be the 1-drop. Give all enemy minions -3 attack this turn only. So it's a negative bloodlust for your opponent.
On a very defensive board, it allows trades while keeping a creature alive. I kind of like it.
What do you think about Shadow Ward Horror in this card?
Oh man, I didn't even think of that. That actually makes Shadow Ward Horror like not shit.
So it's a 5. So it's like a 5 mana combo, but it requires 2 cards, and it requires your opponent's cards to be 5 attack or less to die. Because Shadow Ward Horror, for those of you
mid range or more aggressive, it's pretty good.
Yeah. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Shadow Ward Horror, it is a 4-drop spell that says all creatures with 2 attack or less die. So this would, get their creatures to hopefully less than 2 attack or 2 attack.
And also,
or less.
it wouldn't affect your minions. So if you have a heavier board in Shadow Ward Horror, it wouldn't kill your creatures.
Well, I mean, if they're below 2, then they would. It'd kill.
Well, yeah. But I mean, like, it wouldn't put your creatures in that range if they're outside of it already.
Yeah.
I
think that's a viable combo of cards. I mean, Alkanai, what is it? The Soul Priest and Circle of Healing is like one of the main, removals. So I don't see why not, why this wouldn't be.
Yeah, oh yeah, 2 mana. I mean, 2 card combo.
And it can be used another way, whether they want to trade up or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I like it.
Cool. We've got the Talon Priest next.
What is it? The Talon Priest. Gotcha,
yeah.
gotcha. Let's see. Battlecry gives a minion +3 health, and it's a 3/4 in stats. That's a well-statted card, actually.
It's the same as Dark Cultist from Nax.
Yeah, except it's not when it dies.
Yeah, it's a Battlecry.
So it's better.
Very similar to the, what is it called? The Tempest. The 6-drop, 6/6, give a creature +3 health.
Oh, yeah, that's the basic card, right?
Yes.
I like it. I think that's cool.
I think it's not as good as the Cultist, right? Because it's a battle cry, which means you have to have the creature on the field. But the Cultist is a death rattle, so you actually didn't have to have a creature at that point in time when you played it.
Well, I mean, it has its benefits, right? Because let's say you already have a creature and you want to make a trade, but you don't want that creature to die.
Yeah. It has the benefit if a creature is already on the field.
Yeah, agreed.
But priests, they have this problem, you see.
About having cards to keep on the field.
There we go.
Yeah, agreed.
So decently statted, similar ability what we've seen before, and that card wasn't really that. It was good, but it wasn't groundbreaking. So I don't think this will be groundbreaking, but I still think it will be played.
Did you Wait, do you have Potion of Madness in there somewhere?
Yes, Potion of Madness is next.
Oh.
Were they out of order? Is that a rare? No, they're both commons. We're good. We're good.
On what I'm looking at, it's in a slightly different orders.
No, it's lying to you, bro.
Oh, okay, bro.
All right, so we've got the 1-drop Potion of Madness. Gain control of an enemy minion with 2 or less attack until the end of the turn. So it's a Shadow Madness that costs 3 less, and you get a 2 attack instead of a 3. So
Shadow Madness is 4 mana?
Shadow Madness is 4 mana.
Ew.
Yeah, I know, right?
Ew. I like this card, though. I think it's good. It's good in the early game, right? Because you can, kind of control the board at that point.
I mean, it's good against aggro. Any other deck is garbage.
Yeah. It's good aggro tech.
That's it. It's only aggro tech.
Yeah.
Because it can't take a Thunder Bluff. It can't take a Totem Golem. Most of the time, it's not going to be able to take a Tunnel Trog. And at that time, yeah, it's good against Zoo. You get Imp Gang Boss.
Yeah.
You can take an Alkali to Pain and maybe trade in for it. But I mean, you could combo this with whatever the -3 attack.
Yeah, that's true too.
But then,
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I
it's
think
not
there'll
amazing.
be a place for it, but will it be played in every deck? Probably not.
I think it might be okay in Arena for early game. It's for 1 mana. I'd pick it up.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Okay, next. All right, so this is the Courier, the Battlecry, Discovery, Mage, Priest, and Warlock. So keep in mind, guys, that this would have been under the Mage, but I didn't want to put the same card twice, so we just put it under the Priest instead.
With this, I think in Priest, this would be a pretty good card because Priest lack burn, right? Like that's their main thing is they lack a really good way to finish off opponents most of the time without Akanai Soul Priest.
I mean, they fatigue them. They're like very similar to they play very similar to Control Warrior, very value oriented, very kind of stall-y, control-y.
Right. But let's say you're just looking for a way to finish the game, right? And you have this card for 3 mana, you can drop it, maybe pick up a Fireball or a Frostbolt or anything that can deal direct damage. It could be what they need. So I think in Priest it'd be beneficial to pick this up, but I don't really see wanting to pick up a Warlock card really. There's not really any good Warlock card I could really think of that you'd want to pick up unless you want to get a Twisting Nether or something. But you couldn't even play it that turn, right?
Yeah, I think this is better than the card we had talked about earlier, the 2-drop 1/1, because I would say the 3-drop 2/2, very similar to the Jeweled Scarab-ish.
Yeah. But I still think the one for Druid, Rogue, or Shaman is the best.
Yeah, Druid. I would definitely have to agree with that. I would say Mage has very powerful cards as well, like Tome, Flame Strike, Fireball, all of that. But I would definitely say the Druid and the Shaman definitely kind of peak out on really great
spells. Those are the top
spells
decks right now, right? So.
And there's also no requirement to these cards, so it's just Battlecry, Discover, blank. It's not.
Yeah, I like them a lot.
Cool. I like how there's one of each class.
Yeah, definitely.
Because let's say they play, like Tome in the Mage. They get 3 Mage spells. You better believe there's gonna be a burn spell somewhere in there, right? But when you play this, it's less likely that they're gonna get kind of exactly what they need, if that makes sense. Like they're getting only one of each class, and each class has a variety of different spells. So I feel like it might be less likely that they'll get exactly what they're looking for. If that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah.
Moving to the next one. This card is insane. All right. So as we know, Priest is in a pretty bad position right now and has been for quite some time. Dragon Priest was once okay, but it kind of fell out due to the fact that Shaman, Warrior, Hunter is just very, very powerful. And now, because everybody is constantly complained, you better believe Blizzard has injected straight into Anduin's arms the highest quality of steroids. And this is what we've come up with. We have a 5-drop, 5/6. The stats are there. It's a dragon. And it has Battle Cry. If you're holding a dragon, which you'll probably play this in a Dragon Priest deck, discover a card in your opponent's deck. So, most of the time when cards like this have a Battle Cry, if you're holding a dragon, discover something, deal 3 damage like Blackwing Corruptor, give it ++1/+1 like Blackwing Technician, the Historian in the Druid deck. There's the requirement of having a dragon in your hand, but the card itself actually isn't a dragon. They've decided that they're just going to make this a dragon too. So it synergizes with other cards that have battle cries that require you to have dragons. Because a lot of the time you have the card in your hand, but you don't have a dragon, or you have the dragon and don't have the card. But this makes it so it's like a 2-in-1 special.
It's really good.
This card is very good. This is basically an auto-include into any Dragon Priest you've ever wanted to build, ever.
And it's from your opponent's deck, and you know they're not going to be playing bad cards in their deck, so it's not from your opponent's class. You've made this before. This argument before about that mechanic from your opponent's deck is a way different story than from your opponent's class.
Yeah, especially with his ladder and arena, right? So in arena, you want to take it from the class, not the deck, because their decks suck. But in ranked, you want to take it from their deck because their decks are good, but you don't want to take it from their class because most likely their decks are better than just a random class card. So it all depends.
You're more likely to get a better card from the deck than the class.
Yeah, so it also depends on arena or ranked, whether or not the ability to take it from their deck or their class is there. Definitely a very good card. But I would say probably one of there's 2 cards in particular, which this one, the Dragonfire Potion, which will make Dragon Priest a very, very viable deck. We're talking high tier 2 or talking tier 1.
Yeah. 6 mana, 5 damage to all creatures except dragons. That's insane. It is a cheaper and stronger Flame Strike. And if you're playing Dragon Priest, it's like that's completely one-sided.
This is why I'm thinking Control Dragon Warrior.
Control Dragon Warrior?
Yeah.
Oh, as a counter.
As a tech against this, because they have a field clear that kills everything except dragons, and if you're running a dragon deck, their field clear doesn't work because you know they're not going to play the 1 mana reduce everything +/-3 and then the Shadow Ward Horror.
Yeah, Dragonfire Potion's fucking awesome.
Dude, that thing is insane. I wouldn't say it's as good as a Light Bomb, right? Because Light Bomb, most of the time... Oh, God, we're back to being lagging. All right, so we're going to pause it here, and we'll pick back up where I left off. All right, so we're picking back up here. I'm pretty sure we left off with saying Dragonfire Potion is just good. Not as good as a... Yeah, that's what I was saying. Not as good as a Light Bomb due to the fact that... most of the cards in the Priest decks have low attack and high HP, so like Light Bomb didn't kill your stuff anyway, and it would most of the time kill all of your opponent's stuff, and especially if your opponents are running dragons, which I'm gonna make the assumption there's gonna be a lot of Dragon Priests running around, so this is basically useless against another Dragon Priest. Besides cards like Blackwing Corruptor and things like that nature, but for most of the time, this is against a Dragon Priest is not gonna do shit. So.
True.
Heading to the next one, we have Rogue. Tony, I'll let you go over this one. That's your favorite class.
I do love Rogue. It's just cool. And now they have something called a counterfeit coin. And it's a 0 mana, gain 1 mana crystal this turn only. So it's a weaker innervate, right? But it has the spell triggers that rogues love, those that are combo activators as well. So, you Gadgetzan Auctioneer, you now have a way to, activate it and draw a card and also gain mana, just like we did with the normal coins generated from Cut Purse and, all those things. What is it? I'm really tired. What's the 4 mana one?
Tomb Pillager. I'm sorry,
Pillager,
I'm looking
yeah,
at my
yeah.
computer trying to figure out why we're lagging, guys. I'm sorry about these cuts.
Yeah, it's all. I like it. I like Counterfeit Coin a lot. But it is a weak innervate, right? So would you run 2? I don't know. Maybe not. Why would you run this over a Backstab? Is kind of a good question as well. I think it'll see its place, but I think it might be in like Miracle kind of decks.
Definitely Miracle.
Stuff.
Definitely Miracle.
Yeah, it had to be Miracle. There's no ramp Rogue.
So what I see basically is when the meta, if it slows down because of Dragon Priest, Miracle Rogue does very, very well against Priest because it can deal basically 30 damage in one turn and also have huge Auctioneer swings, right? So if the meta slows down to the point where there's a lot of Priest, a lot of Paladin, and a lot of Warrior, then Rogues can be able to fit this card in their deck, save it for when they have the Auctioneer, gains the Mana Crystal, and counts as a spell.
Well, you remember how rampant Miracle Rogue was when Old Gods first came out, right? The meta super slowed down because everyone was playing Cthulhu decks. And so that's when Miracle Rogue was, like, insane, right? Like, everyone was playing it and it had the craziest win rate. It was, like, tier 1.
Yeah.
Because it was so slow that it could get away with, playing a bunch of stuff that generated coins to draw a bunch of cards and deal damage. So I think hopefully the meta can slow down again more so we can get back into that for Miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next one is the Lotus Assassin. So we've got a 5-drop, 5/5 stealth. Whenever this minion kills an enemy, gains stealth. Very cool ability, in my opinion. Stats look like a Stranglethorn Tiger. That's the closest thing I can compare it to, right? Because it's a 5/5 with stealth.
It is a power creep of Stranglethorn Tiger. Not really a power creep, but it's.
But
it's
Stranglethorn Tiger is a what is it? Classic neutral, and this is a specific rogue. So I wouldn't really call it like a power creep because Stranglethorn Tiger is not really a card rogues would play anyway, right?
Right.
As this might be pushing rogues instead of, OTKing someone in one turn. For those of you unfamiliar with the OTK terminology, it means one turn kill. It kind of it encourages trading, which is rogue is not known for field control unless you're playing like Death Rattle Rogue, right? So
or like a tempo rogue
Yeah.
kind of thing.
That's cool direction. I like the ability. I think it's a decent card. Will it see play in every rogue? No. Will it see play in specific rogue decks? Yes.
Ninja Rogue, calling it now.
Ninja Rogue. All right.
Ninja.
I know a guy. Do you now? This guy has a straight up sniper in his hand. All right. No. That's a Tommy gun, right? Because look at it's like round at the bottom there. It's like a sniper Tommy gun.
Oh yeah. It's a Thompson. It's like a World War II Thompson.
Nice.
My Medal of Honor terminology there.
I'm pretty sure this is the only warrior card we have, and it is a 1-drop discover a taunt minion.
Cool, I guess.
Taunt warrior, yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to really make bolster a thing, I guess.
Still pushing it.
I mean, it's cool. 1 mana discover is pretty good, right? It's 1 mana draw,
basically, what
essentially.
is it? Journey from below, right? Instead of Death
Right.
Rattle, it's a taunt. And for taunts, the biggest taunts I can think of are what? Sagoth, Chilmaw.
Sagoth is pretty big.
What am I missing?
Sagoth, Chilmaw. For the neutrals, you can get like Bog Creeper.
Bog Champ.
Bog Champ. I like Bog Creeper. I've said it in like a million episodes, but it's like one of my favorite cards. It's just so
cool.
well designed.
It's cool. All right, well, that's basically Taunt Warrior.
Yeah.
Only one of. Very kind of...
Before we move on to the neutrals, should we talk about Kazakus, considering it only goes into Warlock, Priest,
I think
and
he's
Mage?
our last card.
Oh,
And I've
okay,
actually
well,
brought up screens where it shows the spells and everything he can do.
Oh, cool.
All right, so we
Oh,
have, for our first neutral, we've got the Honky Chemist, the 4-drop, 4/4 Battlecry swap, the attack and health of a minion. So it is basically
say
a buffed
honky?
Crazed Alchemist.
Did you say honky?
Hookie?
Chemist? Kooky.
Honky? Hookie? Pookie?
Honky is like a white person.
Okay.
The honky chemist.
Honky. So basically, a buffed up mad scientist. What do you think?
I think it's cool. I like Mad Scientist as a Crazed Alchemist, not Mad Scientist.
Yeah, I'm fucked
Yeah,
up.
I like Crazed Alchemist as a card, especially when Doomsayer was really popular and like every deck for some reason was playing Doomsayer. It was a cool card, right?
Yeah.
So I like it. I think it allows for like trades. So things like any tempo deck, really.
I would really wish they'd give us a good silence, man. We need a good silence.
Yeah, but you know, Blizzard and silence and whatever.
Yeah. All right,
Whatever.
the next card is the 2-drop 2/3 Friendly Bartender. The image here is pretty fucking bad, and it's a pretty creepy picture. At the end of your turn, restore 1 health to your hero.
Oh God, you're right. It looks horrible.
Like, does that not look like shit?
That's not appealing.
No. Dude, he looks like something really bad at a Build-A-Bear workshop.
He looks like a bad Five Nights at Freddy's character.
There you go. That's what we're talking about. I think he's a pretty trash card. I think this is one of the cards I can just say is just clearly bad.
It's a filler card.
Yeah. All right, let me move up the list here. Give me 1 second to the up arrow the fuck out of this. All right. Oh, God. Don't do this to me now, XSplit. We just do it. Look at this. I didn't even click on that shit. We're going back to the Friendly Bartender. Here we go. The Mistress of Mixtures.
1 mana, 2/2. Death Rattle, restore 4 health to both players. So it's well statted, right? Like it's way above curve. Kinda.
Definitely.
Normally, if they have 2 attack, it's a 1-drop. They have 1 health. 1/3s are common, but 2 1s are common, but 2 2s for 1 mana. Not really a thing. Like there was Zombie Chow before, right? So this is kind of like Zombie Chow. Just
with 1 less HP, and it heals
1
both
less
players.
HP, and it heals you as well.
Making a cut here, guys. All right, guys, we're back. The lag is gone. So we're basically saying it's a cheaper, not as good. I wouldn't say not as good version of Zombie Chow, but it definitely does not have. It's not a 2/3. It's just a 2/2, and it restores both health. Restore 4 health to both players. So it's actually, you can play it. I'm not sure if it's like I guess you'd play it in control, right? Definitely control. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not statted highly enough to warrant playing an aggro, right?
Right.
So
yeah, I'd say it'd be like a mid-range mid-range control card because you'd want it in the early game to like protect your field. So,
I think it'll be a pretty good priest 1-drop, to be honest.
Yeah, for priest specifically.
I would say it'll be mostly seen in priest, but it'll fit in
I'd
other
have
classes.
to say, that's where like Zombie Chow showed up a lot.
Yeah.
I like it.
Cool. All right, let me find. There we go. Moving on. All right, we've got the 6-drop Big Time Racketeer.
I like this card a lot. I like tokeny cards like this because of their synergies with like Bran. So, like it itself is a 6-drop 1/1. Like stats are garbage, right? Like literally horrible. But you can summon a 6/6 ogre. And with Bran out, you can summon 2 6/6 ogres. So for 6 mana, you got a 13/13 in stats, and 3 across 3 creatures as well. It's hard to get rid of.
You mean 14/14? No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, I'm right.
You right.
I know
you
calculus.
Right. Yeah, you're right. I'm wrong. I done fucked up.
I know my geography. Yeah, I like this card. It's cool. In Magic, you can do fun stuff like flick it in and out to like reactivate these things. And I wonder if Hearthstone is going to incorporate something like that as well, where basically you can, like kill and resummon. You know what I mean? Like Dreadsteed, or like I think mechanics like that in the future could make this card really good as well. Anything that has some huge battle cry can really benefit from things like that.
I guess Moonglade Portal, right, would get worse for the Druids, because the Moonglade Portal can now summon a 1/1.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good point. That sucks ass.
That would be horrible.
Could you imagine moonglading out of 1?
Now that I say that, my first fucking game
when
absolutely. I fucking play Druid is gonna be moonglading. It's gonna bring out this fucking big time racketeer. You know it.
Yeah, good point. That's definitely a nerf to Moonglade.
All right, so we've got the 5-drop second-rate Bruiser. 4/5 taunt costs 2 less if your opponent has at least 3 minions. So it's a 3-drop, 2 or 4/5 with taunts.
If you're behind on board, it's pretty good.
So it's okay normally, and it's really good when you're behind. So not really a bad card. Doesn't really belong to any specific category. Is only a rare. Definitely not a bad card for new players.
Yeah, and it'll go okay in like control, or anything like if you can take this in for if you're facing a lot of aggro, right? In any deck, any deck can really benefit from a card like this if they're looking to just survive enough to get their win condition across. So I like it.
I think it'll
it's
be
well
found
designed.
for the newer players. I think this is like a newer player card.
Yeah.
Not like a high competitive card, but definitely
Oh, agreed.
definitely not a bad card, but not a really great card.
And in arena, this could really swing around a game as well. You know what I mean? Like I think this card in arena could be good for getting some tempo back.
Definitely.
You know, you're playing a way above, way above statted high creature. 3 mana 4/5 with taunt.
Definitely.
It's way above curve. So
But that's your 3 minions for your opponent. That's a lot.
yeah.
Next card, 6-drop, Wind Up Burglebot. He's a 5/5 mech, bringing the mechs back. Again, the image is pretty bad, but I'm sure that'll increase or get better. Whenever this attacks a minion and survives, draw a card.
Wow. It's like Boogie Monster. Am I right? Well, no, nothing as bad as Boogie Monster.
So it doesn't
cool.
have to kill the minion. It just has to
True.
survive. It's a 6-drop 5/5, so obviously it's not the stats are okay, but you're doing it to draw a card. You're playing it obviously in a mech deck, so this would
Maybe obviously in a mech deck. I wouldn't see.
well, it's
a win.
mech for a reason, right? Like they wouldn't just print this card and put mech on it for just giggles and
Any
shits.
reason. True.
I just don't see what you're aiming to do to draw the card, right? If it was like whenever this minion attacks and survives, get a spare part.
Yeah.
I just don't
I
see.
don't know.
I just don't think it's that great. And it's an epic. Feels bad, man.
Yep. It's kind of weird. Yeah, I don't. It's okay.
Yeah, I don't like it. All right, we're at the 3-drop 3/7, the Fell Orc Soul Friend, Soul Fiend.
I like this card. I like this card specifically for Priest.
I'd have to agree.
Priest has a way of healing, so the
And it's
2
at the
damage
start
turn.
of your turn, not the end of your turn. So you actually will stay at 3/7.
That's an even better point. Yeah, this is actually a good card. I like it.
I think it's really good. Because at the beginning
Yeah.
of the game, most of the time, Priest is hero powering your opponent.
And they're like, yeah, followed by a well played, right?
Yeah, I mean, we played Priest for 3 or 4 games, and we were healing our opponent for
when
like
we
up until
resurrect
turn
Priest?
5.
Yeah, we're like, here you go, buddy. Well played. Concede.
So I mean, I think it'll compete for the injured Blade Master spot for sure.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. It's solid body and it lasts longer. It doesn't immediately take a hit like the Blade Master does.
I wouldn't even be surprised if it fits its way into an aggro deck, maybe Zoo or something like that.
Oh yeah. Oh man, I'm surprised. It being a Soul Fiend, I'm surprised it's not tagged as a demon, but it's not a warlock
This
card.
could have been a perfect demon card.
Oh yeah.
This would have been a really cool demon card.
And as a Fell Orc Soul Fiend, I guess it's technically an orc who's just corrupted. I don't fucking know.
Nah, I don't fucking know. All right, so we've got. I think we're heading into our last bit here. We're at the neutral legendaries. The 1-drop 1/1 charge. After you play a pirate, summon this minion from your deck. Patches the pirate, and he is a pirate. So basically, he's a deck thinner. You do not want to have this card in your hand whatsoever. You just play your pirate, and he would take it from your deck, basically allowing you to technically have a 29 card deck.
Yeah, but he also kind of, in a way, he also makes the first pirate you play in the game technically a
+1/+1.
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of, it's like, in a way, it's like a buff to your creature immediately, but it's like a way of getting creatures out as well.
Yeah,
So
Fends your deck, buffs your creature, has charge, is a pirate. I think it's a
Aggro.
really
It
good
is like-
pirate pirate card.
it is like the definition of aggro.
Yeah.
Like this is one of the most aggro cards I've ever seen.
The
So
pick
I
is
like
pretty
it.
badass too. It's fucking squid, man.
Yeah. He's like in World of Warcraft there's the Hellfire Citadel.
Yeah, yeah.
Or the Hellfire, and there's like that one guy you fight in the middle and he looks like that. Whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Cool.
That guy.
And there's all kinds of pirates down here in the deep blue sea. All right, so interesting. The 5-drop 2/4 Murloc, Finja the Flying Star. Finja.
Yeah, like Ninja. But Finja, because he has fins, because he's like a Murloc. Clever. He's a 2/4. He's a 5-mana 2/4 stealth. Stats are kind of bleh, right?
Yeah, but he has stealth.
But when he attacks and kills a minion, summon 2 Murlocs from your deck. That could be pretty crazy, right? Like, let's say you're running just a shit ton of Murlocs.
In theory, I think this card is like really, really good.
Yeah.
Because you play him on 5, your opponent can't react to him. The only thing they can do is flame strike him. And it's turn 5 if you play him on 5. So there's very limited ways to get rid of this guy. So whether or not he can kill that creature, Paladins, which we know are kind of the Murloc kings, right? They have Murloc Knight, they have Anyfin, they have buffs. This guy's going to need a buff. So you play him on 5, you lock and load him up with a buff on 6, you kill a creature, you summon, let's say, a Murloc Knight, maybe a Charger or a War Leader. He gets buffed with the War Leader.
Oh.
Thins your deck. I think we might be onto something.
Yeah, the thing is, he has to fit in a very specific type of deck, right?
Yeah,
like, he's not
This is very
He
specific.
is not versatile in the slightest.
This is not in you. You do not play him in the OTK Paladin.
Yeah. So this is going to go in a very specific. It's a 5-drop, so maybe like kind of a mid-rangey or tempo-y kind of Paladin deck. I don't know. There's going to be some interesting theory crafting and deck testing around this card. I can see you trying to do something crazy with this.
I think he's pretty cool.
I think it's awesome.
All right, so our next card is going to be our last card, which is by far probably the coolest card, which has been released thus far, and that's Kazakus. Did I say it right, Tony?
Kazakus? Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. All right. So he's a 4-drop, 3/3 battle cry. If you have no duplicates, if your deck has no duplicates, create a custom spell. All right. So, couple thing, Tony. What are the classes that this guy belongs to?
Priest, Warlock, and Mage.
All right, so from what we know, he's only can be played in those particular 3 decks. Keep in mind, I don't think it's the same. Yeah, it has the same thing as Reno. So if you can run duplicates, they just can't be in your deck. Or is his wording a little bit different? Because it says if your deck has no duplicates. So technically,
let me look up Reno Jackson's exact wording.
Because you know what I mean. They could have changed it a little bit, making it so you had to have one of them. But normally with Reno, you can play maybe a 2 of a card you really like or need in the deck. And most of the time,
well, this is how Reno's worded. If your deck contains no more than one of any card, fully heal your hero. Now, it's possible that they are implying the same exact thing.
Inconsistencies, unplayable.
And they're going to go back and fix Reno to make it consistent. But at this moment, I'm not really sure. I haven't done any research on this card.
Okay. So I actually do have the screens of what the spells will look like here. So this guy's going to work. I'm going to try to explain this the best I can. So when you play this guy, like I said, you make a custom spell. The first thing you're going to bring up, it's going to bring up these 3 things here. And as you can see, I'm actually going to make this a little bit smaller for you guys. So you can see the other one right here. It's a 1-drop on the very left, a 5-drop in the middle, and a 10-drop. So you get to pick what spell you want. So whether you want to pay 1 mana, 5 mana, or 10 mana for this spell. After you've selected, which spell you'd want, whether you want to play 1, 5, or 10, it moves to this screen here. And this screen is very similar to the other screen, and this allows you to basically pick an ability to go along with that particular spell that you've cast before. So this one, he picked a 10-drop spell. So we got these 10-drop options. Copy 3 cards from your opponent's deck, put them in your hand, deal 6 damage to all minions, or draw 3 cards. Obviously, the 1-drop is going to be the least powerful one, and the 10-drop being the most powerful one. After you've selected one, it's actually going to bring you to another screen where you pick another ability for your custom card here. And these, summon 3 friendly minions that die this game, gain 10 armor, and transform all minions into 1/1 sheep. So this is a very, very powerful card at the very end of the game. Again, based on whether you picked a 1 mana, a 5 mana, and a 10 mana. And I don't know all of them yet because the card was just released. I'm sure they will all be released at some point in time. And at the end, the result will look like this, where the card is a 10 mana, deal 6 damage to all minions, summon 3 friendly minions. So he picked the 10 mana, he picked the deal 6 damage to all minions, and then he picked the summon the 3 friendly minions that died this game, creating one giant, awesome 10-drop spell, which I think is really, really cool. Tony?
Or a 1-drop spell or a 5-drop spell.
Yes. But the effects will be different. It's not going to be a 1 mana, deal 6 damage to all minions, summon 3 minions this game. That's craziness. That's craziness.
Balanced. I think it's cool. I think it adds now, how many abilities are they planning to have for each mana break?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay,
this is all I could find. I think this was pretty good for just, rummaging hard.
And it's a discover mechanic with those as well. So 3 pop up and you pick one of the 3 and then you pick another one of the 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the discover mechanic is cool, right? It's controlled RNG. And this card is taking advantage of that and allowing you to cater it into a very specific situation. Let's say you're behind on board and you really need a way to get through it. You can field clear and draw cards, or you can, let's say, I don't know what the 5 mana ones are.
Yeah, but I don't know what they all are, but obviously you're going to want to know what the hell this guy can create prior to playing him, and then knowing, your situation and which kind of mana you want. Most of the time, I'm assuming people are going to want to go, well, actually, in any situation, it's going to be different. So let's say there's, for the 1-drops, there's, kill 2 creatures with 2 or less attack on your opponent's side of the field, and you're playing against Zoo. Obviously, that's probably going to be a pretty good option for 1 mana.
Yeah. So I think it's good because, one, I think it's one of the first cards that actually requires skill in a way, right? You have to know, you have to memorize and be like, okay, well, I know I can build one of these different things and hope I go along, and if I pick the 10 mana card, I know I have a good chance of getting this for this situation. I think it's interesting because it's one of the first cards I've ever seen in this game that actually requires memorization and very careful, meticulous planning, right? And that's new, and that's different, and it's really cool that you get to build a different card from a card. So
I like it a lot.
Just imagine the crazy.
They're taking advantage of the fact that it's an online game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They can't do something like that in Magic.
Oh no, not at all. And that's one thing that Discover in Hearthstone is something that Magic can never have. And they're finally taking advantage of, they're doing nerfs on time. They're taking advantage of their online game, and it's great, and I love it.
Yeah. So let's see if it hopefully stays. Hopefully you've enjoyed the review of all of these 31 new cards that came out today. As again, more cards when they get released, we'll talk about them as the time comes. But for now, we really want to hear your feedback on this, and hopefully in the future videos. I think I figured out the whole lagging problem. We've had no issues since I made this slight adjustments, which will be awesome. And looking forward to hearing your feedback on this video. And of course, I'm Warshack.
I'm Tony.
And happy whatever the hell day it is.